This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Let's talk about the next match here. We've got the main event. Steve Austin and Triple H on one side, Undertaker and Kane on the other, and a ton of time. 27 minutes and 11 seconds. Ultimately, Austin and Triple H win. And I don't know that a lot of people would have necessarily called it, because as they come into this, they're the world champ and the Intercontinental champ. But that's the story. And this is also an interesting twist, because technically Austin's belt and Triple H's belt were on the line. So they can't lose the match. It almost feels like you paint them into a corner or just expect a DQ, but it doesn't happen. This allows Triple H to join Shawn Michaels as the only wrestler to ever hold the world title, the Intercontinental, the European, and the tag titles. And Meltzer would say they're trying to tell a story with Kane having an arm injury, and you're trying to protect him from his own guts. And so Undertaker's going to wind up taking the majority of the punishment and won't tag out. They're working on his knees, but he still won't tag. And Meltzer would say it's scary how badly the fans still wanted to cheer Austin. Early in the match, he would go to one corner and you could see everyone in the building on that side cheering. Kane tagged himself in and they bump for him as he does the one-armed gimmick. It gives Austin a clothesline off the top and slams Triple H off the top. I'm not saying they're not doing a good match here and telling a great story, but it does feel like the fans just don't want it this way. I think they're okay with hating Triple H, but they'd rather do whatever it takes to mean that Austin gets his hand raised here, right?
Yeah. It was what they wanted to see. And if it had been what they wanted to see, then the buys would have been significantly bigger, obviously, right? I mean, oh man, this is going to be a great card. Even the card below it was strong, and there was a lot of great talent on the card, the undercard of this show. They were, I don't want to tell you they were booked as wisely in hindsight as they perhaps could have been. But in any event, it just, again, reinforced that the turn wasn't working. And, you know, we had two magnificent baby faces, and Undertaker being the man, the Clint Eastwood of WWF. And, you know, it just wasn't what they wanted to see. If the main event had been what they wanted to see, they mean the fans, pronoun boy. Are you a pronoun boy or an errand boy? I saw Dusty do that one time to Jim Barnett. Dusty laid on the floor in Raleigh, Dorton Arena. It's hotter than shit. The building's not air conditioned, but that one room is. I took Jim Barnett.
Let my family save your family some cash. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket, but we will save you money. It's not a matter if, it's a matter of how much. SaveWithConrad.com.
Barnett in there to cool off, and Dusty was laying on the floor, concrete floor, which was cool. And the only thing he had on was his Johnson Hall. That's what they're called.
Austin Hall.
I just like to say the word Austin. I'm kidding.
There you go.
I'm an Oklahoma boy. And Dusty was laying there naked on the concrete, and he was doing his Marlon Brando impersonation from was Apocalypse Now. Are you an assassin or an errand boy? Barnett says, oh my God, what's he doing? Does he do this all the time? And I said, well, you know, he's just cooling off. What are you going to say? Right. And Mr. Barnett made a U-turn and got out of the air. He didn't want to see this scene. He told me later, said, if everything was like that, I might change teams.
Oh my gosh.
So we loaded them up. You know, you got Kane and Taker. Everybody, you know, everybody believed in them. They could beat anybody. They're the brothers of destruction, et cetera, et cetera. The one caveat that it was not being sold or being bought, more specifically, Conrad, was the Austin situation. It just everything became out of kilter. There was no symmetry to the thinking process of this match. Like you said, fans are more than happy to boo Triple H. He was a great heel.
Yeah.
A great heel. And But at the same respect, you know, most territories that I worked in, when you had a situation where a babyface got hurt, disgruntled, whatever, no longer available, and you're shorthanded of a box office babyface, you generally look to the top heel that you got that might be able to fill that role. And so that's what you're, you know, Triple H should have been the babyface going forward, and would have got over. Like I said, I used that reference earlier about him returning from his injury in the Garden. My God, the Austins, the Rocks, all those guys. Nobody got a bigger pop than Triple H did coming out in the Garden that night.
Right.
So it tells me that people would accept him. They believed in him. They respected him. They may not like his in-ring tactics, but they sure as hell respected him for being a tough guy and being a very top-level pro wrestler. But, you know, Triple H didn't want to do it. He didn't want to go heel or babyface. And Vince acquiesced. And so all of a sudden, we're still scrambling. We're still scrambling. And it would be a while after that we could get half-assed, get the deck back together with some new people, new faces. We had to get new. We had to get different. We had to get some new faces there. And it just caught us with our pants down. We just weren't ready for those. We weren't ready for the overall rejection of Stone Cold. And the Stone Cold, the lack of popularity, the lack of success affected the whole card. It affected everybody. It just wasn't the same vibe in the building, Conrad, if that makes any sense to you.
It does.
The vibe was not there anymore. We became vibeless. And, but, you know, that was the road to travel.
Let's talk about the finish of the match here. Meltzer would write, Taker chokeslam Austin, but Stephanie distracted referee Earl Hebner. Hebner then shoved Stephanie off the apron. Kane did an enziguri, but Triple H crashed into Hebner. Tagged the Undertaker, who gave Triple H the last ride, but Hebner wouldn't count, thinking he wasn't the legal man. Another ref bump. Austin did the stunner on Kane, but no referee. Stephanie gave Triple H a belt to use, but Kane used a high kick on him and then on her. This set up Vince's run in with a sledgehammer. Kane went after Vince, but with the cameras missing a finishing sequence again, Triple H hit Kane with the sledgehammer to the head and scored the pin. It's pretty crazy to think about that we're missing the finish of a pay-per-view like this. Does the blame for that wind up on the agent or Kevin Dunn or someone else?
Well, it's not Kevin Dunn's fault.
Right.
Certainly. I don't know if it's the agent's fault, but you got to communicate. The agent has to communicate with the truck. And they had these meetings before the show start with, I think Kerwin Silfies was the director. So Kerwin would have been responsible for catching those shots after being tipped off in the pregame of what was going down. And those are meetings I tried to avoid at all costs because it preconditions you. And I didn't want to be preconditioned. I wanted to be at least spontaneous if possible and add some reality to it. But you're right you're on the right trail. Lack of communication. And and the other thing, Conrad, some of those things that we're talking about that they missed, they may have been audibles.
Right.
They may have been where nobody knew they were going to do those things. They called it on the fly. And with those four guys in that match, calling things on the fly would not surprise me whatsoever, because I think all four of them preferred to do that. Old school, call it, or what's the crowd reacting to, or are they buying, or are they not buying? Let's give them what they're buying. So it could have been that, but it was very uncharacteristic to miss vital segments of a match, specifically the finish for a WWE camera crew or the truck or whatever. But that would go back on the director, but it might not be the director's fault.
We should also mention that there was another miscommunication in the match. Meltzer would write, something happened with Austin and Kane. As you could tell, there was a major communication problem. Kane went for a clothesline, and Austin was out of position and not expecting it. Austin went for a back suplex and Kane wasn't ready and didn't jump for it. They had some trouble later. You know, these are two primetime players. They've been in pay-per-views, main events at this point for years, and you would never expect to see this sort of miscommunication in a WWF main event. Perhaps back in the day with WCW, but not here. And, you know, I know that this isn't our topic today, but this bungled heel turn that we don't have all of our ducks in a row, maybe for the way we hoped with Austin. And now we've got a miscommunication. It feels like one thing after another that are leading up to Austin becoming increasingly frustrated with each passing day. Is that fair to say?
Yep, sure was. And I'm sure he felt like the match was stinking during the match. Hey, look, these guys are already seasoned, talented veterans. They know when it's going well, and they damn sure know when it's not going well. And it may be so minute to the naked eye that we are fans who don't know the finish are well, I didn't see anything too wrong with it, but the talent in the ring can tell you what's not feeling right and what's just not working. Because I know that Kane and Austin had no issues. They weren't like a little personal vendetta or something. There was no dirt here. Now I can mix some dirt up for you websites that need clicks. I'll just come off the top of my head and give you some shit here. I can incriminate Conrad. He was there as a young man and he didn't buy a ticket. So, you know what I mean? It's just, so there was no issues between the two guys. It's just one of those nights where things were not clicking. And I think that was across the board in a lot of areas. And I think that's why in Meltzer's poll, more people were voting in the biggest category, that percentage that was of the voters were thumbs in the middle. So here's what you got. So you got a main event with the Undertaker and Kane versus Stone Cold and Triple H. And the best votes, the most votes we get are thumb in the middle. You would think that main event alone should have been enough to pull the wagon over the top. But it sure as hell didn't.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.